So this morning I was looking at several different articles and I came across this incident that's been all over the news. And it's been all over social media as well as another article having to do with the killing of a black man in Akron, Ohio. And this comes in. This was a parade that happened in Highland Park, Illinois over the 4th of July weekend. So this article is out of the New York Times. It says a joyful July 4th event turns into a scramble to survive. This is by Robert Crimo and Mitch Smith, Dan Simmons, Claire Fay. So I'm looking at these articles. There's different news feeds, things coming in from different various media sites on the event. So I didn't really read this articles as I know sort of what happened. Um, so Tuesday, July 5th. So you can see, I believe, what is Highland Park, or the Highland Park area of Illinois. So it goes on in the article to talk about this incident. I will tell you what I do know is that they apprehended the person in question and that this person was on a rooftop of a business with an AR or an assault style rifle, and it was legally purchased. That I know of, and from what the photographs that came out of the individual, that he was young and that he was between 21 22 years of age, and that he had posted several things, um, like videos, on social media that were rather violent, and they're investigating this person in question. So this is what we see, I believe. A lot of people, they had to flee the scene. You could hear the shots firing out from the rooftop of a business, a local business in the Highland Park area. So law enforcement, they searched the area of Chicago suburbs, Highland Park, Illinois, after a mass shooting on the 4th of July parade, Monday, July 4th, 2022. So Highland Park, Illinois, it sounded like at first it was fireworks to the parents who had brought their excited children to what they thought was a charming 4th of July parade in their town, but perhaps a military salute to the flag is what they assumed, that it was something harmless in the beginning when they first heard the shots ringing out. But within seconds, as marching band members and politicians strutted down the street, horrified spectators realized the noise from a nearby rooftop was a high-powered rifle spraying bullets into the crowd and killing 6 people and wounding dozens. And so, but within seconds, uh, it says that's what they heard. And I'm going down, trying to go down, pan down into the article. So this attack in Highland Park, it was usually a safe lakefront suburb north of Chicago. Okay, is where this is located, as they say. So Highland Park, Illinois, is the suburbs of of Illinois. So from what I heard in news, that they showed this morning, guy said that normally those type of activities don't normally happen in their town. So it says that the set police on a sprawling, it sent them on a sprawling manhunt that forced residents to shelter in place for much of the day and prompted neighboring cities also to cancel their holiday events as well. About 8 hours later, police said that they had taken into custody a 22-year-old man whom they described as the person of interest. And so, even in a country battered from the constancy of mass violence at a grocery store, an elementary school, and an urban street corners. Carnage in Illinois proved shocking. So, according to the Gun Violence Archive, a nonprofit research group, the shooting on Monday was the 15th this year, in which at least 4 people were fatally shot in the U.S. And so, for reasons that remained unclear to the police Monday evening, officials said a young man had climbed onto the rooftop with a rifle and began firing into a sea of families that were sitting in lawn chairs who were celebrating Independence Day. And so, okay. So I'm reading it as I go along, and I'm panning up and down. I'm trying to get a good handle on this article. So it says, my wife looks up and screams, "Get up, run, get up," said Sean Cotreau, 47 years of age, Massachusetts resident who was visiting family in Illinois, who said that he initially thought that they were firecrackers. Or Cotreau estimated that his family was sitting in the chairs about they were sitting in the chairs about 20 feet away from this gunman who was on the rooftop of a store firing down at the crowd. So I can't even get the image of the guy out of my head. So apparently people saw who he was, or at least they got a glimpse of him. So he said, describing the man with a large gun, wearing fatigue and a hat pulled down, he was just opening fire. And I saw the bullets hitting the tree, and it was like literally in front of us. So police officers who were already assigned to the parade route arrived and rushed to help the wounded people, authorities said. So victims, they range from the ages of 8 years old on up to 85 years of age. So doctors who received the injured at the local hospital said that was the ages of the people who were injured in the incident. And so the gunfire had stopped around the time the officers had arrived. Police said that the gunman was able to get away. By late afternoon, the SWAT teams, they were still combing the area, and the officials were asking residents and businesses to turn over photos and videos that might provide clues. So authorities warned that he was believed to be armed and told the public not to approach him. So could this happen again? Deputy Christopher Covelli of Lake County Sheriff, and it goes in to say that officers asked Monday afternoon while the search for the gunman was on, and as other Chicago suburbs rushed to cancel their parades and fireworks shows. We don't know what his intentions were or are at this point. So here's the name of the person that they have in question. His name is Robert, I believe they said his name is Robert Crimo III. He was taken into custody. And I saw pictures of who this gunman is, and said that he was taken into custody in a nearby lake forest after a brief chase, police said. So survivors describe a joyous family event, as they say, with high school football players and a marching band that turned suddenly into a scramble to live. So Dr. David Baum, an obstetrician who had come to the parade to watch his 2-year-old grandson push a bubble lawnmower alongside dozens of other children, said that he had rushed to help after what sounded like a sonic boom and people yelling and bodies down, bodies down. Diego Rosas, who was working at a grocery store near the parade route, heard perhaps 30 shots, then saw people running towards the store, so he let them inside his stores. Alexander Sandoval, who had arrived early with his family along before the parade, started to stake out a prime viewing spot, said that he did not immediately realize what was, I believe, what was about to unfold. So I'm reading the article. I'm just now seeing this myself, so bear with me, because it's really hard to see these things happen. It seems like they're all repeats of the horrible shootings we've already heard of or saw, witness, that has happened already, and it just seems like it never ends. But I do remember them saying that there could be copycats after the Uvalde shooting that happened in Texas at the elementary school, and what has also happened in Buffalo, New York. And so this to me proves to be a valid reason why they were warning that this could be a really hard summer because of what has happened already and what could happen, and we're seeing it now, unfortunately. And so it says that, I'm going back into the article. So the victims, they range from 8 to 85 years of age. Doctors who received the injured at a local hospital, they said this. So the gunfire had stopped around the time the officers had arrived, and police said that the gunman was able to get away, but by late afternoon, a SWAT team were still combing the area, and officials were asking residents and businesses to turn over photos and videos that might provide clues. So authority warned that he was believed to be armed and told the public not to approach him. So could this happen again? Deputy Chief Christopher Covelli of Lake County Sheriff Office, he asked Monday afternoon while the search for the gunman was on, and as other Chicago suburbs rushed to cancel their fireworks shows. We don't know what his intentions were or are at this point. And so from what I was seeing, they were still investigating this whole incident, the motive. I'm adding this in there from what I had saw earlier when they were doing a news feed on this whole incident. It was stated that they were investigating, a motive for, like they go through his social media account. And what they did find is that he had videos that were really disturbing, that showed a lot of violence, and that he was sort of what it sounded like, that there were other sympathizers, other people that were on. It almost sounded like what they were saying about the Uvalde shooter, that they had a page, and they had a group, and they all were involved in a chat room or a group where they all looked at videos of violent killings or violence or whatever, and they all sort of had the same ideas in mind. So that's troubling. So it goes on to say that what they heard sounded like a sonic boom, people yelling, bodies down, bodies down. Diego Rosas, he was a grocery store working there at nearby the parade. He heard 30 shots, he thought he heard, or at least he said he heard, perhaps. So then he saw people that were scrambling, running towards the store. He let them in. So Alexander Sandoval, who had arrived early with his family, long before the parade started, he was staking out a prime viewing spot. And he said that he did not immediately realize what was going on. And when it started happening, I thought it was the Navy saluting the flag. And Sandoval, a construction contractor and a lifelong resident of Highland Park, Illinois. Then he grabbed his kids, and then we ran and tried to break a store window to get away from what was the shooting. So it must have been really scary. You're hearing this shooting, your kids are out there, you're exposed, you don't know where it's coming from, or you think you know where it's, but you don't know if it's going to hit you or your kids. So when it started happening, he thought that it was a Navy salute, but he learned otherwise. So Sandoval said that he tried to break the window, and they continued running. So I was punching the door, but couldn't punch it through, he said. So it sounds like there was a lot of fear And then he says, I think the shooter stopped and then he reloaded. He reloaded his AR-15 or assault-style weapon. And then when I ran around the corner and put my son and little brother in a dumpster. So this guy, he put his kids to try to hide them from the shooting. Sandoval said that he saw a police officer carrying a wounded boy about the age of his own child. It's just emotional, he said. And so the shooting brought outpourings of sympathy from across the state and the country and renewed pleas from the Democrats for stricter gun laws once again. And so now you see this can happen anywhere. It's not just in certain areas that you would assume gun violence is prevalent, but this can happen anywhere. But now the thing is that they're trying to investigate what the motive was about this whole incident. It's sad. It's outraging also as well. So the shooting brought this outpouring of sympathy. So for the stricter gun laws, barely a week after President Joe Biden signed the most significant gun legislation to clear Congress in decades. So Biden said that he was shocked by the senseless gun violence. So Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois, a Democrat, vowed to end this plague. So, which I never really heard of anything like this happening in that area. It's usually you always hear what is highlighted as Chicago, or as they quote unquote say, Chirac. Certain areas like the south side of Chicago are areas that you would think have more like prevalence of maybe gangs or violence, or you would assume from media, right-wing media, usually saying that there's all this crime in neighborhoods that are lower on the lower end. And here you got a suburb, and look what's going on there. And so crime can happen anywhere. This is proving this to be so. But for what are the reasons? And that is the question. So the shooting, it's still bringing in an outpouring of people asking questions. Why? Why is all of this? Well, we know some of the reason. They did warn that there were copycats, so there are no words for the kind of monster who lies in wait and fires into a crowd of families with children celebrating the holiday with their community. The governor said there are no words for this kind of evil that robs our neighbors of our hopes and dreams and future. So those victims included Nicholas Toledo, who had recently moved back to Highland Park from Mexico to spend time with his family, according to what is said here. His granddaughter, so Jill Toledo said her family had gone out at midnight to line up chairs, so 15 of, I believe, them could be together on 4th of July, so 3 in the group would be shot. Um, and it says we brought him over here so he could have a better life. And it goes into Toledo said that her grandfather, his sons wanted to take care of him and be more in his life, and then this tragedy had to unfold, of course. And so after the shooting of 26 people were taken to the Highland Park Hospital, 25 of them with gunshot wounds. Dr. Brigham R. Temple, the medical director for emergency preparedness in North Shore University Health System, at least 10 other patients were taken to nearby hospitals, he says, and their injuries ranged from the minor to severe injuries. So with the downtown still considered as an active crime scene, the residents are encouraged to stay inside, and many in Highland Park spoke of their shock to this whole event, the grief and the anger also about the whole event. So on the day that we came together to celebrate a community, which is noted as freedom, we're instead mourning the loss of a tragic loss of life and struggling with terror that was brought upon us. So this is by Mary Nancy Rottering said. So I think every parent now in this community and every other community, and so starts to look at the risk completely different. This is said by Baum. Before referring to the mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas, and that left 19 children and 2 teachers at an elementary school dead. Uvalde is a couple of thousands of miles away, but Uvalde happened in Highland Park in a different. Uvalde happened in Highland Park in a different way. So, um, so the attack Monday came less than 8 months after the driver of an SUV stormed through a Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin, about 80 miles northwest of Highland Park, killing 6 people and wounding dozens. So in Illinois, Covelli said the officials had recovered a rifle and that hundreds of local, state, and federal law enforcement officers had searched for the gunman. The Lake County coroner said at least 5 of the 6 people who died were adults, and officials did not immediately release their names. So, let's see. News of the shooting rattled people across the Chicago area as officials weighed whether to go forward with their own celebrations amid the grief of the manhunt. So several cities and towns called off parades and firework displays and even closed beaches. So the Highland Park and neighboring Deerfield residents they were advised to stay indoors. So Michelle Bernstein, a resident of Deerfield, said that her 2 teenage daughters were at friends' houses at the time of the shooting. So she told them to stay there until the gunman was apprehended. And so one of the daughters was scheduled to work as a lifeguard at a local pool, and she said that, but the pool closed for that day, so I'm hoping they catch the person so the kids can come home, Bernstein said. So in the hours before, a person of interest was taken into custody. So it's going on to say that right now, I don't want to go outside, so people are still scared there and worried that maybe, there's could be somebody else that was involved, but right now they say he was by himself. So as the afternoon dragged on and without an arrest, signs of the sudden terror remained scattered along the parade route. Okay, so abandoned strollers, empty lawn chairs, and some of the half-consumed drinks cup holders were lined alongside the sidewalk. The child's bicycle was discarded along the curb, cheerful-looking balloons, and they were left alone. And you could see what looked like they were left on the grass. And so basically it said, "God bless America" on those symbols of the balloons and some of the things that they had. That was for the parade, of course. So that's the full article right here. And this is what you see probably when they were alerted that there was shooting, a live active shooter that was going on into the parade. So can you imagine you're at a parade with your family and you're sitting down and you're trying to enjoy what you think is going to be a happy event or at least something fun with the family, and if you come from out of town or if you just want to do something fun with your kids, and then all of a sudden you hear what you think might have been fireworks, and then you see this barrage of or hear the barrage of bullets, and then you just see people just frightened and for their lives and trying to break into businesses to hide and ducking and falling and running and scrambling for their lives, how that must feel. And so yet again, this is what we're looking at. This is all in America right here. that these things are happening, and they're happening so close together. Um, what's also disturbing from what I heard about this is that they said that this person had planned this for weeks. That was another article. I didn't really read it, but it was said that this was not something that he was not planning to do, that it wasn't at the spur of a moment. He had plotted and planned that he was going to do and carry out this act. So I'm assuming that, because I heard some things come in from news feeds, that he had a social media page, digital media, showing that he was engaged in some type of violent videos. Supposedly he's a rapper, and yeah, yeah. So it just to no end. And that his videos, his videos, that they were violent. And so I don't know. There's more coming out about this person. From where it left off, it said that they were investigating his motives, and they didn't have a motive as of yet. So we shall see. This story is being updated as we speak. Today, on the motive and why this person in question participated in the activity that he did. They also have a picture of his face, and you could probably see it. It's probably posted by now, but he did not get a scratch on him when they did apprehend him. I believe they said that they had like a small pursuit when they were on the chase of him, but they caught him and he's in custody, but he was not killed. However, shortly thereafter, there was another article about a protest in Akron, Ohio, about a 25-year-old young African American man named Jalen Walker, who was shot, and he was gunned down. He was shot at 60 times for what was perceived to be that he fired a weapon out of his car, but there was no broken glass. They saw a weapon in the vehicle, and they said this guy had no prior history of any incidences, and that he was running, and he ran into an empty like parking lot structure, and there was nowhere for him to hide. He was gunned down. He was shot 60 times for what is perceived as a traffic stop. And so also it added that before they claimed that they saw this gun, nobody reported that he even had a gun. So there's a lot of suspicion around that whole claim. So that story is unfolding, but there are a lot of upset locals in Akron, Ohio, as to why this man was killed and shot at more than 30 times, more than 60 times, and then he was also hit with stun guns as well, and so he was killed. Now, mind you, he hadn't gone out and done anything to anyone, but this one right here that they've caught, he actually killed 6 people and he wounded 31, is what I'm hearing. And there's an infant in critical condition. And he actually legally purchased an AR-15, and he was on the rooftop, and he was just shooting into the crowd of families and trying to hit as many people as he could. And when they apprehended him, they didn't shoot at him. He has not a scratch on him. So these are all things that are coming in all at one full swoop. So the question is why? Why? Yet another mass shooting and another killing of an individual who they assume was doing something. That was a separate story in a whole nother state. And so trying to figure out the correlation between the two of these things, it's awful. It's awful. All of it is bad. But this right here, why? This is another why.